Right. I'll bring Richard in pretty much straight away. As I said, it's 100 and 100, 100 pieces of content on land planning and development in 100 days. For those of you that haven't joined into any of our previous 16 days, this is day number 17. We're getting towards the end of acquisition and sourcing, and we'll be moving on to appraisals in the coming days. But the topic that Richard started yesterday on sourcing distressed sites was kind of split into two categories, really. You've got those that are just teetering on the edge, so you kind of, it's a bit of an SOS situation. Developers, development businesses, projects that are in distress that perhaps we have experience of getting involved prior to liquidators and receivers coming in. And taking it away, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, I think we covered that off yesterday. And this evening is part B, which is, the project, we couldn't say that before it went over the edge. So these are over the edge projects, they're in receivership, liquidated companies, and just talking through how potentially you could get involved in picking up some sites from there.
Yeah, so really over the edge sort of comes in three different sort of ways, really. Administration, liquidation, as Bryn's already said, receivership. So generally fixed charge receivers, but for taking assets back, or actually direct with funders. So actually sort of official but not official, if you like, so almost to the point where it is over the edge. It's irretrievable for the developer and perhaps the investors that are involved, but actually we can actually work with the funders directly to save the project. So they come in those three routes, and as you'd expect, when there's legalities, etc., involved, then it takes quite a bit of time. Bryn's got some experience with lengthy legal situations. They're not quick, are they, Bryn?
No, to say the least.
Yeah, so I mean, just to give you an example, we have agreed a deal with a distressed funder, which is another story for another day. They had the first charge, so first charge holder took the asset back through fixed charge receiver, and the developer had gone into administration on a different route. So they've taken their asset back as part of that whole process. Administrator was left to deal with all the mess that the developer had left. But we've agreed after, I believe, 18 months or so, Bryn, is it? Something like that. And we've still not done the legals yet, but they've taken that long for them to agree because they've had to agree that they're not going to make as much money. Indeed, they are likely not to make any money and possibly a small loss. But in order to save that project for them, they've got to continue to fund that project to conclusion. And as I say, it takes time. So we've got others that we're currently dealing with that are also in their second year of a lot of persistence, a lot of patience, and expect them to fall away sometimes. So it's not a quick process, whether it be direct with a funder or through the fixed charge receiver or administration. If you have the funds, then you can work direct with fixed charge receivers and administrators to purchase those assets if they're controlling them, and that's potentially a quicker route, but it's still not a quick route. You can come to agreement quite quickly and head to terms, but you're having to cross the I's, dot the T's, or the other way around even, in triplicate, to actually make these things happen. And in order to sort of succeed in acquiring these assets, then the first thing that you actually need is cash. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be your own cash, but it has to be cash, liquid, actual cash, or available funds. So that's working with perhaps funding partners, equity investors, or whatever, to actually move forward and acquire some of these deals. We've also had one in administration that we've recently we decided not to exchange. That was a care home, so that was a business that was in administration. And they were obviously trying to realise what they could from the assets. This was I think what we would say is the market changed considerably from the time we agreed it to the time we was expecting to exchange. So we pulled out of that, but we're still in contact with the administrator, and we will stay in contact with the administrator. Should things firm up a little bit in terms of the market, then we will be back in there. So I guess the key for most people is where you find the opportunities. You can deal direct with the fixed charge receivers. You can deal direct with administrators, but you have to remember that they have a lot of people that are trying to get what they see as great opportunities. So there's often a lot of competition. So it's getting their ear. Once you've got their attention, then you've got to bring something to the table, as we mentioned before, and they want to see proof of funds, deliverable cash. So if you haven't got that, you or a partner hasn't got that, then this isn't for you. You may have all the other abilities to deliver good project management skills. You may be a good contractor, etc. So you may be able to take part in that, but you're not going to be able to lead it in any way. Now, often for administration and fixed charge receivership as well, these opportunities are offered through agents, through the market. And as most of you will know, if you've listened to us before, we don't do much through agents. We use agents all the time at the other end, but not at the purchase end, or very little anyway. But obviously, when a business is in administration, then they have to be seen to be getting the right price. So it generally has to be seen to go to the market, even if in effect it actually doesn't go to the wide market. It may well go to what you may well have heard of the black book, if you like, the fictitious black book. But they're agents have got their people that have proven to them that they've delivered the purchase before. So there are connections to be made, but you can't bluff your way through this. You really have to produce the goods in order to do this. But making connections with agents, with a bit of credibility, will see some of those opportunities passed to you. Director administrators, and also through receivers. Now, if anybody's heard of the Gazette, effectively the London Gazette, that's where all the legal notices of the country are posted. So businesses that have gone pop, if you like, they're in there. So you can get details who the administrators are. So you can write directly. And so it's not impossible, but it's like everything else, as Bryn will tell you, it takes a bit of effort, doesn't it, Bryn?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a very similar approach to how we would source any type of opportunity. We always deal direct. Well, in the main, 95% of the time, probably more, deal direct to landowner rather than going to the market. And it's interesting. It's the same situation with regards to distress sites. Our kind of primary objective is to go direct to the distressed business or the developers or the site owner before it's gone bang. Hence Richard's video yesterday, because then it does fall into an area where there is too much competition, just like there is when there's a site that goes on to your commercial agent's website. There is too much competition with on-market sites, so the preference is get in early, basically.
Yeah, and I guess linking the two, if you do have those discussions before a business has gone over the edge or before a project's gone over the edge, then you're already sat around the table with the stakeholders really, and generally that's the whoever's got the first charge. They call the shots, always call the shots. And when we're in, shall we say, disruptive times and an uncertain market, the only charge that's worth having, the only security that's really worth having, in most cases anyway, is that first charge over a property. There's debentures over companies and things like that, but again, that's a subject for another day. But generally, so the only people you really want to talk to is first charge holders. But their funders and their larger funders, you can't always get to the person that makes the decision. And again, as Bryn's alluded to there, this process is much the same as we deal with all our direct to landowner sourcing stuff. The key is getting to the decision maker. And if you can't, your message has to be really, really clear, because it's like those of you that know what Chinese whispers is, even three or two people, that message, the emphasis might change, the sort of, the confidence that you can give about delivering the project, delivering the money, etc. You can't always do that through a third person. That's one of the challenges of this. But why we're talking about it really is in uncertain markets, this is the distressed sites, the over edge distressed sites will rumble on for months, even years. So post the sort of recession started in the late noughties and into the sort of the 2010 to 2011. Now, some of you may not believe this, but some of the assets that were taken back at that point are still not been released. Some of you might know of sites locally to you that you think, why has nothing ever happened to that? And chances are it's because whoever owned that asset, wherever it is, they've just been hanging on and hanging on. That's happened in areas where there's been less market movement, because they're still waiting to get their cash back. So we will see these opportunities and they will genuinely last for 2-3 years, so there are a lot of them. There will be a lot of competition, because as we probably heard many times, it's all to do with how much liquidity there might be in any market at any point. Basically how much cash there is around, and when there's lots of cash around, that means that people are looking for safe places to put that cash. And some distressed sites, for instance, or some more distressed businesses that go over the edge, they may have sites that have been secured and nothing's happened to them. So people will put money in uncertain times into land, because they know that if they wait long enough, whether it's a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, then the value will come back. So when there is a lot of cash in an economy, it's sometimes that those sites, those development sites or potential development sites that have been taken back through administration or fixed charge receivership, that they do find quite a lot of people after them. But I think the key to this is getting out there and keeping an eye out for projects that look like they've stalled, that the gates have been shut for a week or 2 weeks or something like that. So actually, generally, by the time the gates are closed, then it's generally either over the edge or teetering on the edge. I guess is somewhere in the middle. So start sort of doing your research, land reg, who owns the site, if there are any charges on that site, and who perhaps holds the charge. Start getting in touch with those people, and be persistent. And and once you actually get to the point you can have a discussion with somebody, who knows where that will take you. But as Bryn would say, well, I'll let him say for itself. Really, is the key to success is persistence, etc., isn't it?
Yeah, well, you got to be seen and heard at the end of the day. So if you identify any opportunities, then you've got to get out there as quick as you can, really, and bang the drum. But it's not something that we've done any of, certainly from a social media perspective. However, think of ways of how you can get in front of developers or business owners, projects that are stalling, coming into difficulty, teetering on the edge, maybe just over the edge. Maybe social media is a way of doing that, whether that's just organic sort of social media posts and reach, or whether that's paid for advertising. Looking at specific industries, for example, could be a good approach in the market at the moment. And getting your messages out there specifically to distressed businesses and distressed development sites, for example. So yeah, clear messaging like calling all developers that are struggling. If you've got a stalled site and you're struggling to keep up with finance, then we may be able to help. Messages in and around that kind of nature. Not something that we've discussed internally, but it could be something that we might look at as well.
I think there's an important point there, is if you're trying to find those developers that are struggling, most never will admit it, but actually they could very well be, in the background searching for anything. So be direct. They will respond to messages like, do you need money tomorrow? Because sometimes the only route when you need money is perhaps to some of the more unscrupulous lenders that don't take no payment very kindly. If you take them in. So and when you're fighting for your business life, then people they don't want clever marketing messages. They want clear. We can deliver. Do you need cash tomorrow? And direct those at developers, builders, and you might get something back. Because as Bryn said, we haven't tried it. It doesn't really fit our, the way we do things. And to be fair, we don't need to do it, do we, Bryn? We got a little bit of credibility in some areas where we can talk direct to receivers, administrators, and have a proper, credible conversation. I will say something about receivers and administrators, and apologies to any of the one or two decent ones there are out there that might be listening to this, but do not believe one single word they say, because they are there to get as much money out of you as they can, and they are very, very good at it. They are better in some cases than many agents, and they will play the strong negotiation tactics, because it's not their money they're playing with, it's their reputation, and reputation is very, very important for administrators and receivers, to be seen to be fair, but to get as much as they can, because that's what makes them tick. So you can have a commercially sort of open conversation, but please do not take too much on board on what they say, because they will. I'll tell you, they will lie to you. So just bear that in mind. But if you don't mind playing a bit of a game, you can have some good fun with them. I think that's probably a good place to end it. I think, Bryn, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah.
Sounds pretty good to me. And yeah, just I'm gonna have to leave it anyway, because I just had a message from my wife that my 5-month-old is now awake. So that was a short-lived.
Priorities, mate. Go and see the grandson. Yeah. Okay, so that's been Richard and Bryn from your land partner, and we will see you again another day.
Take care.